To read from Leon Panetta, of course, the former defense secretary under Barack Obama, former CIA director, White House chief of staff under Bill Clinton. I think he's done every big old job you can have, short of president of the United States, but whatever. It's very good to have you, my friend. Thank you for coming.
Nice to be with you, Neil.
What do you make of this agreement, what we know of it right now, and particularly the fact that we have offered to cool it on the joint military exercises we do with the South Koreans?
Well, you know, I was asked before this happened, what is the best we could hope for? And because of the lack of time here to really fully prepare for the kind of complex negotiations that would be involved in this kind of agreement, I thought the best you could hope for is having a meeting of the principals, having them get to know each other and establish a relationship, and then agree to intensive negotiations on the more complex issues that are going to be involved. And that's pretty much what we have. But I think it's important for us to remember that it's largely words at this point, and that we have to look for actions, particularly from North Korea. I was a little concerned that the president would give away our issue with regards to exercises, military exercises, without getting something in return, because I think that ought to be part and parcel of a more comprehensive agreement with regards to North Korea.
So the denuclearization goal, which was stamped out in their, communique or whatever you want to call it, Secretary, I mean, that called for, eventually ridding the peninsula of nuclear weapons. I'm taking a leap here. That's the thrust of it. But is it your sense that because there isn't a clear timetable or a definition, ours is sooner rather than later, the North Koreans is later rather than sooner, that without that addressed, this agreement is dicey, or what?
Yeah, I think it's probably well for all of us to remember Ronald Reagan's warning with regards to dealing with the Russians that, yeah, you trust, but it has to be verifiable. And very frankly, at this stage, we have really no set of actions that the North Koreans are committing to, and certainly no inspection, no verification regime to ensure that they're going to take the steps necessary for denuclearization. Look, we're talking about almost 20 to 60 nuclear weapons. We're talking about 141 sites that actually produce these kinds of weapons. There's a huge number of issues here that would have to be considered and would have to involve the actions of North Korea in order to ensure that we really have something that will involve the denuclearization of North Korea. We're not there yet. So I think it's probably well for everybody to maintain kind of a healthy skepticism until we see those actions taken.
We've already heard that the Chinese are petitioning to the United Nations Security Council, Leon, that the sanctions be addressed and eventually dropped. What did you make of that?
I don't think we ought to take any steps with regards to relief on the sanctions until we see the steps that North Korea is prepared to take with regards to denuclearization. Frankly, we shouldn't jump ahead here. That's why I was concerned about the president taking the step with regards to exercises that he did. We ought not to give anything to North Korea until we see what steps they're prepared to take.
But Leon, wasn't that the rap against? I'm sorry, but wasn't that the rap against your former boss, Bill Clinton, that he was giving away the store? And it took years for the North Koreans to start cheating, but cheat they did. And, he is, to this day, rude, never personally getting that opportunity when he had one to meet with the North Korean leader at the time, of course, Kim Jong-un's father. What do you make of all that?
Well, look, we've got two unorthodox leaders here, President Trump and Kim Jong-un. And the fact that they were able to come together and to meet is important. It probably would have taken diplomats many months to have arrived at agreeing to that kind of meeting, but they went ahead and met. And I think that's important, that they looked eye to eye and tried to determine whether or not, they could move forward. So that's an important step. But again, I think as we learn from the past, North Korea will agree to take these steps but you can't trust them ultimately to fulfill what they commit to. And I think we just need to continue to be concerned about whether or not North Korea is going to stand by its word.
Yeah, you know, the one problem with the trust but verify thing is that, you know, it's a carrot and stick approach, right? I mean, you give the North Koreans the carrot if it looks like they're dismantling or doing what the agreement said they should do. So they get more aid or they get sanctions relief, and they continue on this path. We give them more aid and they get more sanctions relief. But then they can cheat after they you know, filled their wallets up a little bit or had the economic crisis pass. So how do you address something like that? How do you know this isn't, for the time being, a desperate dash for cash?
Well, that's why I think, you know, something that we really didn't do in the past, which is to really establish a very strict verification and inspection process that allows these inspectors the ability to go anywhere, anytime, in order to make sure that they are taking steps to denuclearize.
But doesn't the country that is subject to that, doesn't the country that's subject to that, Leon, almost always have an excuse to say, oh, not today, or, you know, we can't see it today? All of a sudden they can change the rules, sometimes years after the fact, as happened during President Clinton's term.
Neil, you're absolutely right. And that's why, you know, my approach to these things, considering North Korea as an adversary, is you don't trust them.
Yeah.
So you've got to be able to verify. You've got to be able to inspect. You've got to have people on the ground. You've got to determine whether or not they actually are taking actions to denuclearize. If they're beginning to do that and we have an inspection and verification process in place, then and only then should you consider sanctions relief with regards to North Korea.